Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. I am here with JC.
It's a pleasure to be back, Wendy. Thank you.
We're talking about how to connect with coworkers no matter what your role is. Today, in this episode, I want to talk about the fact that, hey, maybe my manager is not great, but I still want to connect with my teammates anyways. How can you help me? How can I help you? How can I talk? We can't always pick our managers, so we have to make change from where we stand, including, connecting with coworkers. And then if you have a great connection with your coworkers, or even just a good connection with your coworkers, then maybe your not so great manager will be a little more tolerable.
Oh, absolutely. Look, it can be very challenging to work with a manager who's not supportive or effective, but it's important to remember that you can still make positive impact on your team and your work environment. Even if your manager's not supportive, you really can.
One of the biggest ways that you can connect with your team, let's face it, we're mostly in an email world, right? I mean, many companies, not all, companies that, like construction and manufacturing, they don't use technology to communicate. It's usually face-to-face. Yeah. So that one's a little bit different, those type of companies. But for the rest of the companies, so many times the only way we communicate with our coworkers is emails or instant messages or text or something like that. So what I encourage you to do is reply directly to people and as soon as possible when they email you, even if it's just to say, I don't have the answer. I'm not going to have the answer for 4 more days, but I will get back to you. And in fact, I'm going to send you an appointment right now so that we could connect at that time.
That's awesome.
There's nothing worse than people do not respond to your emails or your messages. I have that going on right now with a vendor, a repair person. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this person only responds when he has the answer, like the positive answer I'm looking for. I'm like, I just want to know if you're still alive and working on my account. That's all I want right now.
Yeah. Or should I move on to someone else? And that reinforces positivity and the efforts to be positive and let that be a positive influence on your interaction with a vendor or the positive influence that you could have on your team. And that's even if your manager is not supportive. It might involve being proactive and offering assistance to coworkers when needed, or simply maintaining positivity and supportive attitudes in your forms of communication. And just like you exemplified, Wendy, setting that calendar event. What's that? 4, 5, 6 days in advance, however many days in advance. Let's think about it real quick. You're a corrections officer. You've got people in jail that are not doing too hot, but you're doing everything you can to support them. Mm-hmm. And all they want to do is know when their court date is coming up. You have the power and capability to very simply say, look, I'm going to look into that and let me get the answer back to you. Their lawyers might not be getting back to them. Other people might not be helping them out, but you have the opportunity to do that. You could transcend that into any industry across the board. Positive communication. Wendy Sellers with the amazing tips. I'm not going to forget that one. I want to tell you.
Positive is so important, even during a negative time. I had something happen this week. Again, it wasn't work related, but it was not a great experience. And somebody that I was talking it through with, lost their mind. Oh, those people are jerks. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I said, I know them. They're not jerks. I think they just made a mistake, or they didn't inform me. And then I went back to the people that I was upset with, and I handled it calmly. And they were like, no, remember you told us this. And I'm like, okay, I think there was a miscommunication. What you told me was this. I told you, yep, no problem. But I didn't understand the effects of that.
Got it.
It was, in the end, it was both of our faults that something negative happened. We got it resolved. But if I went after these people like, you screwed this up or whatever, do you think they want to help me?
That right there is a testament to open communication, though, my friend. It really is. And you being open and communicative, that's ultimately at the end of the day building trust. And it's going to create a more collaborative and supportive work environment for whatever the relationship is. You're like a pro.
I tried it. I try to practice what I preach in my personal life. It's a lot easier in business, but it's not always in my personal life. And I feel like really since the beginning of the pandemic, when we really had to, grab that mirror and look like, hey, am I part of some of this problem in the world? I really try, but I screw up all the time. That, you know what? I said to somebody the other day, the way you really learn is to screw up royally and say, whoops, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
And so, folks, if you are, again, no matter if you're HR, if you're a manager, or if you are just saying, I'm not a manager, I'm a coworker, and my manager's not great, but I still want to have good relationships with my coworkers. Communication is key. Following up is key. Checking in on people. When somebody asks a question maybe in a meeting, and even though it wasn't directed at you, but you have the answer, go to them afterwards and say, hey, I know you had that question and it didn't seem like you understood. Let me sit with you virtually or in person and explain how I learned it, and then maybe give them your cheat sheets or whatever it is. They're going to go, wow, you went out of your way to help me. But in the end, helping you is really helping me.
This is all ultimately going to have impact on your mental health and physical health, right, Wendy?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, mental health, definitely. And then your mental health does 100% affect your physical health. And in fact, we have an upcoming podcast on mental health. And so stay tuned for that one specifically, so we don't go down a rabbit hole in that conversation right now. One other thing that I did want to say is, since we were talking about the virtual world, if you ever have the opportunity as a remote worker to meet other remote workers in person, please make sure you do that. Even if it's just a one-on-one Zoom or a one-on-one meetings that say, hey, I know we're always on these team meetings together, but I've never got to talk to you one-on-one. And so it could be something silly that you're just like, you have a question, but you're like, you know what, let's just get on a 5-minute Zoom or a 10-minute Teams so that I can ask you this. And then you just go, oh, I hear a dog in the background. What kind of dog do you have? You talk about people's pets, they just light up. Talk about their kids, they might light up. Their pets, they light up.
Yeah.
But now you have a connection to say, oh, I used to have a dog like that. Or, yeah, I have a dog and it's going through a treatment. And now you have some empathy and sympathy going on. And now you have some connection that was more than just being in a group or on a team chat. Does that make sense?
Absolutely does. Yeah, my dog like that just died. And then now the conversation took a turn. I'm kidding. Don't. Look, ladies and gentlemen, remember, if you can't change your manager's behavior, you can still be a positive impact on your team, your work environment, and simply focus on your own actions, your attitude, and supporting your coworkers. That's all my thoughts on this one, Wendy. Back over to you. We're nearing the close.
We're going to wrap up this episode and move on to episode 5, our final session of communicating with coworkers. And what I want to talk about is some of those coworkers that are nightmares. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.